We will be starting on place value. And place value involves knowing the value of each digit in a number. And our number is a base 10 number system. And the digits that we're concerned with are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And when we write a number in its usual form, we should be able to tell what is the value of each number or each digit. For instance, 753, as you see here on the screen, right? 753, and I'll just write it here, 753. 3 is in the ones place, 5 is in the tens place, 7 is in the hundreds place. In other words, we have 3 units, we have 5 tens, and we have 7 100s. Okay, now let's look at a chart. Now notice the chart here. Now this one does not have decimals. We're just dealing with the whole numbers here. You have units, next to it tens, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. And if we continue, we would have million, tens of million, hundreds of million. Okay, so we can use this chart to determine place values for even large numbers, like in the hundreds of thousands. For instance, 360,521. The 360, we'll just put this here, 360, 521. In other words, that number is 360,521. That's what that number is in words. Now notice here the 3. Now going back to your chart here, let's go back to our chart. You see this 6 column is hundreds of thousands. Scroll down. Hundreds of thousands. This column is units. This is tens. This is hundreds. This is thousands. This is tens of thousands. So let's go back to our number. So 360,521. That would be 1, 1, 2 tens. See 20. That's a 20, 2 times 10. 5 100s, which is 5 times 100. We have 0,000, because notice in this position it represents thousands. We have 0. So our thousands is 0, so that we can say 0 thousands. This column is tens of thousands. So that means the 6 would be times 10,000, as you see here, 60,000, which is 6 times 10,000. Then the 3 here represent hundreds of thousands. That means 3 times 100,000, which will give you then 300,000. Now, when we look at these digits, the 1 here is equal to 10 times the value of the place to the right. So at the right of the 2 is a 1. So that 2 is really 10 times the value of the place to the right. Just like the 5 is 10 times the value of the 2 to its right, because we have tens, hundreds, and what times 10 gives 100? 10 times 10. Now, we can represent our numbers with the place values. We can also represent them in what we call general form, where we can expand each of the digits, just like I just said. Okay, now let's take a look. And notice this is just emphasizing what we just said. From right to left, we have units, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000, 100,000. Now let's take a bigger number and let's look at place value. This number, notice you have 7231468. This number is 7,231,468. So you have 8 ones, 6 tens, 4 100s, 1 1,000, 3 10,000s, which gives you the 30,000, 2 100,000, which gives you 200,000, and 7 million. Okay, now notice this chart for just this number. 8 units, that means 8 ones, 6 tens, 4 hundreds, 1,000, 3 10,000, 3 times 10 is 30,000, 200,000, 2 times 100,000 is 200,000, and 7 million. 7 times 1 is 7 million. Now, we can put numbers in what we call a general form, and that's really taking the number and dividing it up into the components that make up a number. 95 is made up of the number 90 plus 5. But what is 90? 90 is 9 times 10. What is 5? 5 times units, which is 1. So that's 5 times 1. Let's take 123. That's 3 ones, 2 tens, 1 100. So when we write this in the general form, we have 100 represented by this column here, 2 tens, which is 20, and 3 ones, which is 3. Okay, let's take another number. 4,058. Now, 8 is ones, 5 is tens, 0 is 100, and 4 is 1,000. That's the place value. So this number, when we write it in general form, we have 4,000, no hundreds because there's a 0 there. So that's 0, 0, 0. 5 tens, which is 50, and 8 ones. Okay, let's take the number we had up there, the bigger number in the general form, which we said in words was 7,231,468. So the 8 represents the 1, so we have 8 here. The 6 represents the 10, tens. 6 times 10 is 60. The 4 represents 400. 4 times 100 is 400. The 1 represents 1,000. So we have our 1,000. The 3 represents 10,000. 3 times 10,000 is 30,000. The 2 represent 100,000. So 2 times 100,000 is 200,000. And the 7 represents a million. So 7 times 1 million is 7 million. And that's the way our number looks in the general form. Now, let's just take some exercises. And I hope you can actually put them in, identifying place values. Okay. Now, this number is 4,831. So what do we have in the ones? We have a 1 here. So let's just put our 1 here. That's a 1. What do we have in the tens? 3. That's 30, right? So we have 3 tens. What do we have in our hundreds? We have 8. That's 800. So we put our 8 here. And thousands, 4,000. Remember the word for the number, 4,831. So we have 4,000. So that's how we identify the place value of each digit. Okay, follow along as we go to the next number, 95,627. What goes in the ones column? A 7. So we put a 7. Okay, what goes in the tens column? 20. 2 times 10 is 20. So that's 2 tens. So we put a 2 here. What goes in the hundreds column? 6. That 6 represents hundreds, 6 100s. So we put 6 for the hundreds. What about the thousands? Here's our thousand column. 5 represents the thousands. So we put 5 here for the thousands. And the tens thousand will be 9, because that's 9 times 10,000 would be equal to 90,000. So how many 10,000s do we have? 9. And as I said here, and I'll just put it here just for the 9, 9 times 10,000 equal 90,000. Okay. Just example, the 9. You can do the same for the 5 times 1,000, 6 times 100, 2 times 10, and 7 times 1. Okay, let's go to the next one, because I'll leave the last 2 for you to do. Now let's do this one. The words for this number is 876,495. How many ones do we have? There's our ones, our tens, our hundreds, our thousands, our 10,000, our 100,000s. So what digit there represents the ones? It's the 5. So we put 5 in our ones box. 9 represents the 10. So we put a 9 in our 10 box. Okay, now this 4 is the hundredths place. So we have 4 hundredths. So we put 4 for the hundredths. And then 6 represents thousands. So we put 6 for the thousands. Okay, the 7 is tens of thousands, 10,000s. 7 times 10,000 is 70,000. That's exactly what that is. So we put 7. The 8 is the 100,000s. So we put 8 for the 100,000. Now, I want you to, for your practice, do 4 and 5. All right. Now, let's just look at some number names. Write each number in words. So this number in words is 2,000 576. So we can write 2,000. Okay. And I'll just take out the underline. Okay. 2,576. So in words, this number is 2,576. Let's take the next one. The next number in words is 7,341. So we write 7,341. So 41. Okay. 3, 4, and 5, I want you to do for practice. Okay. And let's go to writing our number in the standard form. 4,759, where we'll just translate these words to the numbers. So 4,000, let's just write 4,759. That would be that number in standard form, 4,759. And as we said before, this number at the far right, the 9 is the ones, the 5 is the tens, that's the 50, 7 is 100, 700, and 4 is the 1,000. Okay. Now let's go to our next number. In words, is 3,275. So let's just write it as 3,275. Okay, so let's just write that number in the standard form. So we'd have 3,200, so that would be 275, so 75. 3,275. Just make that bigger. Okay, so that would be that number in standard form, 3,275. Okay, the next number is 5,892. Okay, so let's just write that number, 5,000. So that would be 5,000. Okay, 800. So there we have our 892, 892. Okay, so that's the way that number would look. All right. The next numbers, well, let's do the 9,067. We'll do that number. 9,000. So we'll write 9,067. So 9,000, let's just put the comma after the 1,000. 9,000. Notice you don't have any hundreds here, so that would be 0, and then 67. So 9,067 be 9,000, no hundreds, 67. Okay. And I want you to do number 5. Now, another form of a number is what we call expanded form. And we have been saying this, but just to emphasize, let's show you what it looks like. 9,571. You have 9 thousands, 5 hundreds, 7 tens, and 1 1. So when you expand it, that's what you write. 9 times 1,000 plus 5 times 100 plus 7 times 10 plus 1 times 1. That represents 9,571. Notice when you say it in words, it makes it clearer when you have to expand it, because you're saying the thousands, in this case, 1,000, 100, tens, and 1. 2,893. That's the thousands place, hundreds place, tens place, ones place. So 2 thousands, 2 times 1,000, plus 8 times 100, plus 9 times 10, plus 3 times 1, because the 3 is in the ones place. Let's look at the smaller numbers. In words, 611. So you have 6 times 100 plus 1 times 10 plus 1 times 1. Okay, let's look at number 4. In words, 45,237. So you have 4 times 10,000, which is 40,000, plus the 5 in the thousands place, times 1,000, plus 2 times 100, plus 3 times 10, plus 7 times 1. And number 5, in words, 5,034. Notice you don't have any hundreds here. So it's 5 times 1,000, and you can put either 0 times 100, or you could just leave it out. So it's 5 times 1,000, 0 times 100, or leave it out because there are no hundreds. 3 times 10 plus 4 times 1. Okay, now we have some multiple choice place value problems here. And these I want you to do, and I'll just do maybe the first couple, and then you'll do the rest of them just for practice. Now, number 1, choose the correct number which 3 has the value 30,000. Okay, the value 30,000. Well, we know it's not here because that's 1,000, so that's 3,000. And 3 here is what? 300,000. 3 here is 300. So the correct answer would be A. So we put here correct answer is A, because 3 in this position is 10,000. So 3 times 10,000 is 30,000. Let's go back over it again. 8 is in the ones place. 6 is in the tens place. 4 is in the hundreds place. 7 is in the thousands place. 3 is in the 10,000, and 3 times 10,000 is 30,000. Okay, let's go to number 2. Choose the correct number in which 9 has the value 900. So where do you see 9 in the hundredths place? Well, it's not here because that's thousands, right? That's 9,000. It's not here because that's 10,000. It's not here because that's 100,000. What about here? 934. The 9 right here has the value 900. So we put here correct answer is C, because that 9 represents 900. Now you have, there were 8 of these, so I want you to try the 7, well, actually 3 through 8, and we'll see how you do on those. Now, we'll stop here. The next session, we'll go through some decimals, depending upon how you do on the ones that I ask you to do. Okay, so I hope this clarifies this for you, make it clearer. But place value is very fundamental to understanding math problems. You must know the value of a digit based on where it is in the number. And remember, we have a base 10 system. So just to review, take this number. We have ones, tens, hundreds, thousand, 10,000, 100,000. So the next session, I'll probably be going through some decimal numbers. Once I know you're clear on understanding the non-decimal place value. Okay, so long. I thank you for sharing.